this tutorial, what we are going to be doing is that we are going to be talking about dictionary comprehension and how they work. Okay, so before we start this tutorial, I want to make mention that I have timestamp linked in the description below. So once again, if you're not a beginner and you need a quick refresher on how dictionary comprehension works, feel free to check the timestamp in the description below. But however, if you are a beginner and you're looking forward to working with dictionary comprehension, and also the dictionary comprehension gives us an elegant and a cool way for us to create and initialize dictionaries. So if you don't actually understand dictionary, I have a video that explains dictionary and their method, also linked in the description below. Okay, so feel free to also check that video, then come back to this video to make most use of this video. Okay, first of all, what is a dictionary? Okay, so a dictionary in Python is a data type, okay, that allows us to store data in a format of a key value pair or in a key value pair format. Okay, now with that aside, what is a dictionary comprehension? So dictionary comprehension is a cool and an elegant way that helps us to initialize and create new dictionaries. So here, let's look at some examples of so how to use both functions and dictionary comprehension to solve the same problem over here. Then after that, we'll look at more examples and also how to use dictionary comprehension with the if statements. We'll also take a look at extra examples on how to use the dictionary comprehension with the if statements. Lastly, we'll look at how to use dictionary comprehension with multiple statements. Then finally, we'll touch on some of the takeaway that you can take at the end of the video. So what you can make off at the end of the video once we've been able to go through all these topics. Okay, now let's take an example of okay, so let's say we have a function to create a dictionary. Okay, now with a dictionary, what we want to do is that we want to create a dictionary with the number, or a dictionary that contains the cube of a number. Okay, so what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to have a function called create underscore dict. Now once again, if you don't understand what functions are, I'll also leave a link in the description below to a video that I made describe or explaining the concept of function. I recently made a video of how function work as a whole. So let's move on with this video. So I'll have a variable, a function name called create dict, and I'll have two parameters. Okay, I'll have a start and a stop parameter. Okay, that is a function that takes two parameters. So we have a start and a stop. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a separate variable that will initialize a dictionary. So let's say cube dict is going to be an empty dictionary. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to use the for loop in Python to loop through a range of numbers and convert their values, and when I get the values, I'm going to cube them. Okay, so now let me demonstrate it. So I'll write my for loop. So for number in range of, range, I'm going to pass in the starts value and the stop value. But mind you, we discussed earlier in the previous tutorial that the stats in the range function, or using the for loop in the range function, or in Python as a whole, when you're slicing something, the stop is -1. So meaning if you want to print a range of values between 0 and 10, okay, or 9, you should be able to add 1 to the 9 to make it 10, so that we can grab the values between 0 and 10. Now with that out of the way, let's continue with this tutorial. So we have a for loop, and we have the for loop variable over here, and we are using the range function. We are passing in these two parameters, which is the start and the stop, to this range function. And now what we are doing is that we are calling the empty dictionary that we initialize before the for loop. Okay, so that is cube dict. And what is going to happen is that I'm going to use each value in this range of numbers as the key. So I'm just going to pass the numbers, and the value that is associated with this number is going to be the cube of that number. So I'm just going to have the number star star 3. And with that out of the way, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to use the return statements in the function to return the new dictionary that we initialize, that is the cube date. Okay, so cube date. Now, with that out of the way, let me call this function so that we see the output of this function. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do create date, and I'm going to pass in 1 to 11, meaning I want the ranges of values between 1 to 10. So when I do that and I run this code, we see that we have a dictionary, and we said a dictionary is a data type that allows users to store values inside the dictionary using the key value pair format. Okay, so here we are saying that the range of number should represent the key, and the value or that range of number that has been cubed is the value of this key. So we see 1 1 2 8 3 27 and so on. Now, how can we use dictionary comprehension to also solve this problem? What we can use is that we said in the beginning that dictionary comprehension is a cool and an elegant way that help us to initialize and create new dictionaries. Okay, so here I'm going to use a dictionary comprehension. I'm going to create a new variable called cubeDict1. Okay, so cubeDict1 is going to hold a dictionary. Now I'm going to have the key of the dictionary to be the num, and the value of the dictionary is going to be the number that has been cubed. And I'm going to write a for loop. So for the number in the range, okay, a range of 1 to 11 as we specified over here. Now equally, when I call the cubeDict1, what is going to happen is that we are simply going to get the same output as we used, the same output using the function to solve this problem. Okay, so how we use the function to solve this problem: when we write the dictionary comprehension, we can also use the dictionary comprehension to solve the same problem. Now, isn't this beautiful? We've been able to reduce this 8 lines of code to just 2 lines of code. So this is what dictionary comprehension does. It gives us the ability, or a cool and a fun way for us to initialize and also create new dictionaries. Let's look at another example. Let's say I have car prices. Okay, so I've already prepared a dictionary over here that I want to bring on board. So here, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to copy a dictionary that I created ahead of time, and I'm going to paste it here. So here I have a dictionary. Okay, let me bring it down here. So I have a dictionary that contains car names and their corresponding prices. Okay, so we have this car over here and its prices, another car here and its prices, and so on. Now what I want to be able to do is that I want to create a function that is going to update the car prices by 2.4%. okay, so now let's use function to solve this problem, and also let's look at how we can use the dictionary comprehension to also solve this problem. So I'm going to write a function called update car price. Okay, so update car price, and it is going to take the car object. Okay, so car underscore object is our parameter that is going to take. Now what is going to happen is that I'm just going to have a dictionary that is named new prices. Okay, so new prices is equal to an empty dictionary. So here I have initialized an empty dictionary over here. Okay, over here. Now what I want to do is that I want to be able to loop through this car object, which is a dictionary that we are going to pass to the function when we call the function. So I write my for. I'm going to use the dictionary items method on the car object. So that method is going to give us the ability for us to unpack these car objects into 2 variables, which is the key and the value. So I'm just going to write the key over here, and next I have the value in the car objects, and I'll add the dictionary method, which is the items. Now this will unpack this car object into two variables. So what I want to be able to do is that I want to just call the new prices that I've created over here, and I want to keep the same key in the dictionary, but just modify the car prices. So what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to have the value, okay. Now, but what I want to add another variable here saying increase rate, okay. So I have a variable called increase underscore rate over here, okay. That will hold the 2.43%. Now what I'll do is that I'll just multiply the value that we have from the dictionary by the increase variable, okay. So that's what we can do is that at the end of this for loop, we can just return that new object, okay. That is the new prices that we first initialized. So I have new prices, okay, new prices over here. Now when this function is being called, so let me call this function. I will say update then prices, then I'm just going to pass in the car prices over here. Now when this function is being called, we see that we have a new object that's the prices of the car that are in the dictionary has been modified. So initially we had 230,000, and now we have 589,000, okay. Likewise, we had 150,000. Now we have 364,500, okay. So now we have been able to write a function, okay, that will modify the prices. Now also, let's use the dictionary comprehension to also write the same function that is going to modify the prices just using a single line, okay. That is the dictionary comprehension. So now what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to have the new prices. Now we saw that inside this function, we initialize the dictionary first, okay, before we added these values into this dictionary. But with the dictionary comprehension, we initialize and create the function at runtime. So what I'm going to do here is that in my car prices, I'm going to have a number over here, so which is my key, and also I have my value over here, okay. Then I'll have my for loop. So for the key and value in this dictionary, so in I'll call the car prices, okay, the car prices dots, I'll call the items method on the dictionary, and what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to modify the value at runtime. So when this dictionary is being initialized and created, I'm just going to modify the value before I get the new dictionary. So here I'm just going to add 2.43, okay. Now when I come down here and I print the new prices over here, what I'm going to get is that I'm just going to get the same dictionary as we use the function to solve this same problem. So using the function to solve this problem, we saw that we have to first initialize a dictionary, we had to set a rate, an increase rate, use the for loop, call the new dictionary that we initialize, pass in the key and set it a new value, and also return. Now this is a lot. We can use the dictionary comprehension, which is an elegant and a cool way to create and also initialize a dictionary at runtime. Now let's look at more examples, okay. Let's look at more examples. Now what I have here is that before we look at the extra examples, let's look at how to use the dict comprehension with the if statement. So over here, I have a list of dictionaries also prepared ahead of time, okay. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to paste it over here, and what is going to happen is that I want to be able to loop through this list of workers and modify or filter through this dictionary and pick the salaries which are above 100,000, okay. So what I can do is that I can first use function to solve this problem. So I'm going to use function to solve this problem first. So now what is going to happen is I'm going to have a function here that is called filter salary. So filter underscore salary over here, which will take a dict object, okay. So a dict object over here, that is one parameter. And what is going to happen is that I'm going to initialize a dictionary inside this function called high salary. Okay, so high salary is equal to an empty dictionary over here. Now what I want to do is that I want to loop through this salary object and only filter the salaries which are above 100,000, and I also want to create a new dictionary that contains only the name of the person and its corresponding salary. So now how should we do that? So I'll write my for loop, and I'll use the item because the list contain an item. Okay, so here I'm using the for loop to loop through the list. Okay, and the item will represent every dictionary in the list. So for item in I think dict objects as the parameter, so dict underscore objects, so dict underscore objects. And what is going to happen is that I'm just going to use a for loop to filter the if I'm going to use if statement to filter the salary. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have if the items, okay, the item in the dictionary, if it has a value, a key called salary, I want to filter it. So I only want to select the salaries which are greater than 100,000. Okay, if that is the case, I want you to call the high salary dictionary, and what I want to do is that I want to have a new key inside the dictionary called names. And what I want it to happen is that I want the value to be that salary. Okay, so items, and I'll call the salary key, so salary over here. And what I'm going to do is that here I'm just going to return the high salary dictionary. And now when I call my filter underscore salary and I pass in the argument of workers over here, what is going to happen is that we only have a salary that is above 100,000 over here. So now let me add, I think 10, and let's run it again. So above 100,000. So let's see what is going to happen over here. So we have 100,000 over here. Okay, so the salary which are greater than 100,000, and we see that we only have 2, but here we are getting only 1. So we have only this. So why are we not getting the John? Oh, okay, so I think I made a mistake over here. So what is going to happen is that I have to actually access the item dictionary over here rather than I'll paste in the name so that we can have that. Okay, so here that is what is going to happen. Now when I run this code, okay, so now in the salary dictionary, I want the key to be the item name, and I want the value to be the item salary. Okay, so now when I run this code, we see that we have a name called John, which has a salary above 100,000, and also we have Smith, also has a salary above 100,000. Now let's look at a cool way to also use the dictionary comprehension to also solve this problem. Now what can happen is that let's have a variable name called filter salary 2. Okay, then let's initialize a dictionary. Over here, what is going to happen is that we'll just grab the items, okay, the name in the items to be the key, and the items, okay, the items, and I'll pass in the salary. So item, I'll pass in the item, and I'll pass in the salary key to this dictionary object. And what I'm going to do is that I'm going to have for the item, okay, in the workers. So workers, the workers object that we're using. Okay, so the workers object, so we have in the workers. Okay, now when we run this, we'll see that it will give us an error because we have a typo over here, salary So now here nothing is happening because we are not calling the filter 2. But what we want to be able to add is that we want to add the if condition to filter through the list. So we'll say if the item, okay, if the item in the list that has a salary that is greater than I think 100,000, what is going to happen is that we want that dictionary in that list. So now when we call the filter salary 2, we'll have the same list, the same dictionary as we have using the function to write it. So here we see the function is very complicated, but with the dictionary comprehension we're able to reduce the function to 2 lines of code. Okay, now let's also look at a way to use multiple if statements inside the dictionary comprehension. So what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to take this same code and I'm going to modify it. So I'll paste it here, and what I want to do is that now I only want to grab the salary which are even, or which is even. So the salary which are only divisible by 2. Okay, so we have the worker's salary over here. So I'm going to temporarily change this value to 3 to make it an odd number so that we get only John's salary. Okay, so we get only John's salary as the only salary that meets this criteria. So now over here, what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to add on another if statement over here. So I'll say if the items, okay, and I'll access the salary key. So salary, if it is divisible, I'll use the module if when you divide by 2 gives a remainder of 0. Okay, so now, oh, I made it here, so let me copy it from here and paste it here. So let me paste this one over here, and what is going to happen is that when I run this code, instead of getting only one item in a dictionary, so I didn't run this dictionary, so let me run it so that the changes will be the changes will happen, so that when we run this code we see that we only have only one item that meets this 2 if condition. Okay, so first of all, this John salary was above 100,000, and also the salary was divisible by 2. Okay, 2 was able to divide John's salary without any remainder. Okay, so this is how we can use the dictionary comprehension effectively in Python. Now, before I end this video, I want you to take something from this video. So what I want you to take is that a dictionary comprehension is a short and an elegant process for you to initialize and also create a dictionary. So put that in mind. And also, a dictionary comprehension help us to write Pythonic code which are readable and also intact. Lastly, the dictionary comprehension helps us to also reduce the amount of code that we write. Okay, so this brings us to the end of this tutorial. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, kindly do well to subscribe and also hit on the notification bell so that anytime that I post any content, you will be the first to be notified. Alright, with that said, catch you guys in the next tutorial. Bye.